Well guys, this is the Nokē Bluetooth Padlock. It's been out about 6 months, and that's just about how long you guys have been driving me crazy to do a review. Very heavy padlock, about the size of the American 700 series, about the same weight as well. There are no keyways on this lock anywhere. The only port we have is an electrical connector underneath this protective cover. We're going to take a look at that in just a minute. Well, how does the Nokē work without a key? Well, there's several different ways that this opens up. The first is with the key fob, which I don't have, like your car remote, and that will open it back up. If you don't have the key fob, or you don't have your iPad or iPhone, which I'll demonstrate in a minute, there's a way to talk to this lock with programmable Morse code, and use Morse code by pushing down on the shackle. So when you push a short signal, you get a blue light, and when you push a long signal, you get that greenish light. So I've got this program for 3 short, 2 long, 3 short. Let's see if we can get this thing to work. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. We get a green light, and we have an open. Now notice when we open this up, there's no cutouts on the shackle. There's no ball bearing indentation, but this is ball bearing. I did look at the drawing, but it's located deep on the bottom of that leg of the shackle. So I tried shimming this thing for quite a while. It is a ball bearing. You can't shim ball bearings, but even if you could, you're going to need a shim that's about 2.5 inches long or 2 inches long to get down inside of the body. So that's not going to be a possibility. Likewise, bumping or double wrapping on the shackle will not dislodge the ball bearing or any spring-loaded pawls, because there aren't any. Okay, notice when we close it back up, we're going to get a red signal. Now there's a lot of easier ways to open this up, and one of the ways, and we get the iPad fired up, is to have either an iPad or an iPhone with the Noke app, or the Nokē app. Okay, so we fire it up, and you notice I call this Nokē number 1. I've only got one of them. And when we have the iPad or iPhone located nearby within Bluetooth range, all we have to do is push down on the shackle, and we get a green light, and it opens. You'll notice that it says now we are unlocked. But what if we're drinking a cup of coffee and we really can't see our bike, but we're within Bluetooth range? How do we prevent somebody from simply pushing down on our shackle, unlocking, and then driving away on our bike? Well, there's what's called the 2-step method. So you can very quickly program that from 1-step unlock to 2-step unlock. And then we can go back. And now when somebody comes up, watch the icon here. When somebody comes up and tries our shackle, it doesn't unlock the lock. It does notify us that somebody tried to do it. If it happens to be us, then all we got to do is push the button. We get the green unlock, and we can get in. So it requires the presence of your iPad or your iPhone within Bluetooth range in order to get it open. All right, let's take a look at the battery jumper real quick. What happens if the battery does die? Let me move this out of the way. Well, on the bottom is a rubber protective cover. Simply remove that. And it really doesn't give us access to anything except this little terminal. So when the battery in here dies, all we do is we get a replacement 2032, and you touch it against these 2 terminals, and then you can get into your, by holding it down, you get the lock indicator, and then we press unlock, and we're in. Too easy. That's pretty well thought out, I've got to say. All right, those are all the ways to get into this Nokē. I mentioned we tried shimming. Now, it is a magnetic lock. There are solenoids and electronic circuitry in there, so I'm thinking maybe that it's susceptible to magnetism in some way. So I have a Sparrow's magneto here. My hope is that I can somehow, let me turn off the iPad to make sure we do not get an unlock. Oops. Come on. All right, so now we're not going to get an unlock from the iPad, and I'm not going to use the Morse code. So I'm hoping that by putting this magnet near where I believe the ball bearing is, it'll pull it out of the way and we can get in there. I have tried this a little earlier and I didn't have any luck. So I'm trying basically at all the different angles. I keep getting a green. It's telling me it's trying, and it's waiting for confirmation from my iPad to get in. It's just not going to do it. All right, that fixed magnetic I tried for a while ago, it does not work. I'm not going to waste any more of your time, but it might be susceptible to fluctuating magnetic fields. So let me go ahead and set something up, and I'll be right back. Okay, I've taken my DeWalt drill, and I put little super magnets on the end of a steel rod, and you can imagine that will produce some pretty dramatic fluctuating magnetic fields. So let's see if we can get it to work here. All right, I tried that earlier as well. I got no luck at all on fluctuating magnetic fields. But I do happen to have a pretty powerful degausser. Let me get that set up and we'll give it a try. I have not tried that. All right, this is a pretty powerful degausser, and you can imagine, you can hear that thing humming when I put the tip of the screwdriver over there. You can imagine the magnetic field put out by that thing. I'm going to go ahead and set the Nokē directly on top of it and see if we can get it to work. Okay, we're getting the green signal light telling me it's accepting the long pulse, but I'm getting nothing. I'm trying different angles. Now I'm going to actually take the electrical contacts and put them directly in contact with that. And I got nothing. Face down. All right, I probably pulled all the iron out of my blood through my hand, but we got nothing on this Nokē. It just doesn't seem to want to accept any kind of magnetic influence to screw up the circuitry. So I don't know if the outside is giving it shielding or if it's just not going to be susceptible. So now we got to start going into some destructive techniques. And the first thing I might think, what happens if we overwhelm this? Because these things are only about 3 volts. What happens if we put 10 times that through this terminal? Could we overwhelm it that way, cause the circuitry to shut down, and cause the solenoid to fail? Let's find out. All right, I got some terminals hooked up on the bottom where you're supposed to jump the battery, which is 3 volts. And then I've got it hooked up to a power supply. I've told it to give it 1 amp, so let's go ahead and bump our voltage up. And 3 volts is what it's supposed to be. I'm going to jump it up to 10 times that. Let's jump it up to 30 volts. And 1 amp, and see if we can cause a little detonation here. And there's what we got. What happened to my voltage? There we go. Still at 31 volts, close enough. And I got nothing here. Let's go ahead and see if we can get any kind of cooperation out of this thing. Make sure I don't get fried. And I'm not even getting the signal light. So I think we probably overwhelmed it. And it does not open. So at least they have that protection mechanism. Well, we've destroyed the innards. Now let's go ahead and move on to the next attack. All right, let's see if we can shock this thing open. I've got it clamped up inside of a vise, and I have another lock holding it in place. I've got my body weight clamping it down. I think that'll probably hold it. I'm just going to first take a regular hammer, something like a crook might carry, and I'm going to first try to strike it here, and I probably will alternate back and forth. So let's see if we can overwhelm this with brute force. Nice solid hits. I would say it's not going to yield. All right, let's try something else. All right, got that baby clamped up again, and I have a 2 horsepower grinder, better than any battery powered thing. Let's see how tough this shackle is. All right, this little guy's seen better day. The grinder went through there pretty quickly, but it's not really likely a criminal's going to be carrying around an 18-pound 110 volt 2 horsepower grinder. More likely they're going to be carrying around some bolt cutters. So I've got some 18-inch bolt cutters here. I'm going to go ahead and clamp up right in here, right about where that grind mark is, and I'm going to see what we can do. I'm going to put it in the very bottom of the chuck, which gives us the maximum possible leverage, and give it all I got. Not happening. At best, I barely put a mark in that. So I think we can confirm this shackle is pretty hard. Not going to be cutting through that with bolt cutters. At least small 48-inch ones. You're going to need some 6-footers. Alright, I had to take a chisel and get that thing off of there. It did not want to come off. I don't think we truly disabled the locking mechanism caused by the shackle. But I tried twisting it, but the case was deformed. But I took a chisel, we got that off. This is solid stainless steel, and it's held in place in 3 places on the inside on these little lips. Inside of here, here's our battery. We won't be needing that anymore, or any of those other little pieces. Let's go ahead and take out these 3 screws and see what we got underneath. Alright, doesn't get us very far. This is still cast stainless steel here. This looks to be an insulator. Okay, all stainless steel on this side. We're not getting through there. This is just the power connector for the battery, and it comes out powering the circuit board coming to that side, and then going through here. That's what goes to the jumpers that we put all that voltage through. So I don't see anything fried on here, so it must be fried on the circuitry on the inside. Alright, let's go ahead and I'm going to get a chisel. We're going to have to pop the other side off and see what we can see from that side. Okay, the Nokē plate popped off. There are 3. I broke one of them. There are 3 legs that go onto this stainless steel body, and they're secured by these 3 screws completely through the other side. So this faceplate is not going to be coming off easily. The LED that shines through there is located right there. So let's go ahead and pop off these 4 screws and see what's underneath it. Alright, looks like we have some Molex connectors here. This is from the power on the other side. And this probably goes down to the servo motor, which appears to be buried underneath that steel plate. So let's disconnect the Molex. Okay, steel plate, and was locked onto these 2 pins as well as being screwed down with 4 screws. Inside of there we got our ball bearing. So the ball bearing is indeed, let me dump some of this stuff out. Well, damn it, I pulled out the actuator. He went right here. There's our ball bearing, and the ball bearing goes into this little cutout right here. So the servo actuator turns this little wheel. You pull them back out, and there's the cutout for the ball bearing to fit right there. Yeah, I think we probably broke him pretty good. Okay, well anyway, this is the small actuator motor, very low voltage obviously, and this is probably what burned up, be my guess. So not a lot to it, but everything in here is made from steel, it looks like. Yep, everything's made from steel. So you're not going to be overwhelming anything on the inside of this lock. Pretty tough. For 70 bucks, no Nokē lock was ever intended to go to this level of punishment, but I wanted to see what it was capable of. And I think we can all agree that this is probably a pretty secure lock. Unless your circuitry goes bad, like there's an EMP pulse and the zombie apocalypse begins, then I don't think we need to worry about this thing failing by itself. Pretty secure lock. I don't think anybody's going to walk away with a bicycle. Anyway, fellas, there you go. The Nokē. I'm going to have to give this thing the thumbs up. Pretty tough lock. And I would say I haven't been able to figure out a way to bypass or break into it other than complete physical destruction. So here's all of our pieces. I'm going to have to get busy, and I'm going to put this thing back together, and I see it another day. Thanks for your time. Stay safe. Stay legal. Get yourself a Nokē lock.